What's up, everybody? This is Life,
This is Suelo.
and this is Just Do the Damn Thing podcast.
Do the damn thing, do the damn thing, yeah. Do the damn thing, do the damn thing, yeah. Do the damn thing, do my damn thing. I'ma do my damn thing. I'ma do my damn thing.
Welcome back to episode 2 of Just Do the Damn Thing
Yes,
podcast. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about policing in America. So this topic has been huge for the last year or so, starting back in the summer of 2020 with all the riots and everything that's crazy is going on. So I just want to start off with that. Do you think the riots were justified and all the burning buildings and all that stuff that was going on last year?
So, rioting is never necessarily justified, but I do get why it happened. So it's not that it was justified. People that are rioting and opportunists to try to, just break into people's things, burn stuff down. I'm not for that.
Yeah,
But
that's not right.
I get the feeling of why they would want to do that, but no.
Okay, so I see. I would agree with that. I see what you're saying. So you're saying like the pent up anger that people were feeling led.
Yeah,
to
I mean,
that.
there's only so much people can handle. If I just start poking at you all damn day,
Right.
you're gonna eventually retaliate.
Right. Okay.
So-
And I'm gonna say the opposite. So you're not saying necessarily justified, but you see where they're coming from.
Yeah, I see where they're
Right,
coming from.
okay.
I don't agree with any of that because I'm not a violent person, so I could
Right.
never do any of the things that they did. I mean, because you got to think of the big spectrum. They burned down businesses.
Yeah, that's
Like,
not right by any means.
No.
Businesses that had nothing to
Like,
do
that
with what
helps
was going
the
on.
economy of where you stay.
Yeah, burning down your own cities and
That's dumb.
your own
That's
stuff.
the dumbest thing ever. But I do understand. That's the only thing I'm saying is I understand where they're feeling and where they're coming from on why they have that.
And you
pent-up anger.
personally, you wouldn't go out and burn somebody's
Hell
building
no.
down just for the sake
Hell-
of doing it.
hell no.
Okay, now with that, I would agree. So what caused the riots primarily was the George Floyd case. I know it's a sensitive case, but everybody's talking about it. So let's just talk about it for a little bit. A man was killed by police, they say, from having the knee on his neck. What was it, for like 9 minutes or so? Yeah. So what was the arrest for? Do you know more about it?
So the thing that I heard about was the fact that he had like a fake money or something, that he was trying to buy something in the store. The people in the store called the cops on him, and I guess he did have he looked like he had drugs in his system. So the cops investigated farther to see why he was doing what he was doing.
Okay, and then from having counterfeit money, that turned into like some sort of physical altercation.
Yeah, because he was a little combative, but not. I didn't see him be as combative as like people are trying to paint him out to be. So like when they had him in the car, this is just my standpoint on it.
Right.
So when they had him in the car, all they had to do, because they had one person on this side, one person, people on this side, officers. He was
Okay.
already kind of in the car, but he was kind of resisting.
Right.
But all they had to do was from the other side where they had his head is pull him in and close the door, and then he would have been inside the back of the police car.
Right.
So they didn't have to pull him all the way out of the police car.
Right. So instead of pulling him into the car like they could have done, they pulled him out just to like
Restrain him again.
restrain
when
him
he
again
he
and
already
beat him
had-
up some more when you
Yeah.
already had him in the car. You could have just locked him in there. Like, well, like what's going on?
I
here?
didn't understand. I couldn't understand.
Okay.
While I was watching the video, I couldn't understand why, like, you would think that way. Why would you? Because you have two people playing tug of war. Like, one person's pulling him on that side, and the
Yeah.
other one's pulling him on this side, and then the other officer let go, and then he ended up pulling him all the way out the car instead of pulling him further in the car. The other dude should have been pushing his feet in and just slammed the door on him.
the door.
And then you have a contained person. It's like,
Right.
that's a type of use of force too. Is contain,
And
controlled
that's,
use of force.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah. So their objective was to get him into the car, and they had the opportunity to slam the doors on him, like you're saying. If they were working together and doing a good job, they could have done that. But instead, they do something that makes no sense and pull him out of the car again.
Yeah,
just
while
to
he's
beat him up
handcuffed.
some more while he's handcuffed. Yeah, I havened seen the video. The only video that I've seen is when the dude already has his knee on his neck and stuff.
Yeah, that's what most people saw
Yeah.
around America, but people that actually watched the full thing, like I watched the most of it, and I also was watching a lot of the trial, so I heard about like a lot of the different situations. So one of the biggest things on that was the fact that he was actually trained to do that, to subdue somebody, was to put his knee on his neck. Now I have friends that are in law enforcement, and they are trained to put their knee in his back,
Right.
not his neck.
Okay.
So,
And where was this, in Minnesota?
is that where it was at? Hey, Jesse, help me out here.
I think, yeah, I think it was in Minnesota. I'm not sure, but I don't know if it like varies from state to state. You know what I mean? Because your friend works in California, I would assume.
It varies from department to department, because
Okay.
each department had Minneapolis. Okay, department from department, because you have the police chief, and then you have the captains, sergeants, and all that kind of stuff. From each department is different. So from county to county, city to city, state to state, because you have sheriffs, state police, city police, all those types of different things. And whoever is training them is the one that you have to put eyes on.
Yeah, of
because
course.
the ones that are actually saying, you know what, we need to write this into training, but like the person that's training them has the say so on what they want to train, in.
Oh,
so
okay.
when they're training in use of force, if it's okay in their, if they feel like it's okay in their state to do so, they'll train them that way.
So it depends. Is that so? That's the council of one person. One person can say this is the training going forward, and that's that. Is
yeah,
I understand
so pretty much. So like, of course, you have legislation that you can like put in a state that that bans like chokeholds. Like you can put something in the state where it says it bans chokeholds. So that now you can never put that in training because it bans chokeholds.
Yeah.
So this was a type of chokehold, but it was gearing towards I guess your blood oxygen. So it's cutting off your blood circulation, not your air.
Yeah.
Which is the reason, I believe, is the reason why he can still somewhat talk, because you're not cutting his air, so it's hard to breathe. As far as his straight, I forgot what that's called, but his windpipe or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's his blood.
Right. Okay.
So he can still kind of talk.
Yeah. Either way, it doesn't make sense to do that.
Like if I'm
that.
putting anything that has to do with the neck, if you're putting somebody in a type of chokehold when it has to do with the neck, somebody's gonna pass out.
Yeah.
That just doesn't if you
make
watch
sense.
MMA, that's just that's all you got to do is just watch one fight that gets submitted that way.
Right. And I got to say this before we move forward, that this is not a political show. We don't stand on one side or the other. We just want to make it clear that we're not here to beat each other upside the head and no, this is the truth. You got to believe in what I believe in. No, we're just two people having a conversation, and that's it.
Exactly.
That's it.
Strictly opinion.
Exactly. So what it sounds like, it was poor policing, poor training.
Very much so.
So now let's talk about training as a whole in America. Do you think we're in a good place with that, with good policing, as far as them getting good training and doing their job well?
Again, that varies from city to city. I had a conversation actually with my friend that was a police officer. He's no longer one, but he was talking about how he was differently trained from place to place. From being from BPD to Tehachapi. When he was in BPD, he didn't have any. He was saying that he didn't have any like racist instances where people would just call just because someone looks suspicious because they're black walking around.
Right.
But when he went to Tehachapi, that's all like a whole bunch of calls that were. So it's going from city to city, because it's not only on the police. Yeah. It's also on the public. So the public have to realize, if you're calling the police on somebody and you say that he has a gun, you better be 100% certain that he has a gun, because they're coming gun blazing.
I've always wondered on that. Like, can somebody, for lack of better words, get in trouble for like calling in something false for the police or something that isn't true?
There's a fine line between that. So like, if you blatantly are lying, like you're saying he has a gun, but you know for a fact he doesn't, then yes, you can get charged for that. Now, if you're saying he was holding something that resembled something like a gun to you from the distance you were at, you can't really charge him, because it's not like he's saying that he really does. He's just saying, I don't know what he has, but he looks suspicious to me, and he looked like he has something that's black in his that he's holding. So
Right.
I don't know what it is. It could. So there's difference with that.
Yeah, and it's very very true because how you said that in Tehachapi, your friend was getting calls for a black guy just walking down the street and stuff like that, and I think that's something that we should all take into consideration, that it varies region to region within the same state, within the same county, and that's just the variety in California where we're from.
Actually, I want to just on touch basis on something that came to my head when you're talking about this. It kind of goes with it.
Yeah.
So, like in this one state, I can't remember the state right now, but there was some kids that were riding their bikes, and they got stopped riding their bikes and got their bikes taken away from them. And the reason I heard was that in that specific county in the state,
right,
you have to have a license for your bike. But the county that they're from, which is the next door county, you do not.
Right.
So they're riding through not knowing you have to have a license for your bike. I think the sergeant came in and said that we're not taking their bikes away. But the officer that made the stop said, nah, we're taking the bikes.
Yeah.
I'm like, your superior just said not to take the bikes, and now you're taking the bikes.
Right.
It makes no sense.
Right, and you would think that the superior would word.
It's supposed to de-escalate the situation. Have a mind frame to where it's like, well, I get both sides. You guys are not from this county. Just make sure you guys know that if you're in this county, you can't ride a bike without a license. And you should explain the law to somebody, because we're not taught the law. As a public, we're really not.
No,
like in school,
as a public, we are in the dark. Like, I'm asking you a bunch of questions, like, and you're like, oh, I just have a buddy that worked in the police department. I don't know that much either.
Yeah. I know a lot actually because of me actually working for a prison.
And
then,
I forgot about that.
And then of course, I have family members that are lawyers. And then I was raised by somebody that was a police officer.
Right.
So I know a lot, but the thing with knowing something doesn't mean you know everything, because it's impossible to do. Like the book of laws is different from state to state, city to city, county to county.
County to county varies.
So if you're trying to read every single penal code, you'll sit there forever. And then if you're not continuously practicing what you're reading, you're going to forget it.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of it. So like that's the other problem with policing is that they're trying to enforce laws that they're fabricating because they're not consistent with the exact same types of calls that they're going on.
Right.
So for instance, if you're like a person that's a highway patrol and all you do is speeding stuff, you know those.
Yeah, of course. Those like the back of your hand.
Like the back of your hand. But then you get called to a domestic violence case and you're like, always on the walkie trying to figure out what the heck you're supposed to do. And
then when in doubt, you just pull out the gun like, nobody move. Don't move. I'm still trying to figure this out.
I'm sorry, but this is my opinion.
Yeah.
If you are scared of every single little thing when it comes to the public and you're a police officer, don't be a police officer. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You have a gun, you have a vest on. Like the only way you're going to get killed is if someone shoots you in the head. So, but you have armed to the T. You mostly always have a partner with you, and then when you guys hear a gun, you guys are like 40 deep. How many against one person? So what is he really going to do to you?
Yeah, and I'm not sure if is there any training? Do they train police officers and like mentally preparing to go out into the public and preparing to deal with different personalities in different situations?
So they do. Again, that's based on what department you're in.
Right.
Because some departments focus on that a lot. Some departments actually have psychiatrists or psychologists, whatever you want to say, like go over their mental health or whatever. But I actually read a mental health situation with the police recently saying that 1 in 4 police officers actually think about committing suicide.
Oh, wow.
And that it's actually 2 to 3 times more likely for a cop to commit suicide than actually get killed in the line of duty.
Oh, wow. So they're more likely to commit suicide than get killed in the line of duty.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
So there's definitely some mental issues there. A lot of them come from the military, so some of them actually have PTSD going into the law enforcement.
And again, it varies across the nation. but there is some sort of psychological test that's done, right, to police officers when they join the force.
It, yes and no. It's not like I don't think it's really extensive like it should be. Because this is my standpoint on it. If you're going to be a police officer, but you can't have the money for this. This is the problem.
Yeah.
Is like if you're a police officer, you need to have damn near a bachelor's in psychology. You need to have a social work under your belt. You need to have mathematics under your belt, because if you're a highway patrol, you got to pace people and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
You have to actually know how fast people are going and know how to gauge it.
I see that.
You have to be multifaceted and learn, and you have to also go to law school. You should be in law school for 4 years before you even are capable of being a police officer, in my eyes.
Yeah.
In some countries, you do have to actually have
Okay.
a 4-year degree.
Now that is extensive. See, and that's hard because you need police officers, and not all of them are going to want to go to school
No,
for that long, you know?
Yeah, and that's a problem because we have police officers that have an 8th grade reading level. Like, so
Wow.
they don't even really know. You can see it on their face when they come to, like, sometimes, like some of the videos I watch, you'll be watching a cop and a person that knows his rights, he'll say something and then the cop just blank.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just blank. Like,
he doesn't know what to say.
and then he brings in superior.
He brings in superior, or he tries to fabricate something to make it sound like he's not dumb.
Right.
Which, I mean, it's okay to not know the law. And that's the other problem, is like when you're stopping people and you actually don't know the specific law that you're quoting, actually find the penal code before you try to charge somebody with what you're charging them with.
Makes sense.
Because, like, they say this is not the time to, like, police officers always say this is not the time to combat. Like, if you're trying to find a ticket with them right there, but it is the time to combat, because you're telling me I'm doing something that you don't even know if I was really doing, and you don't even know the actual statute of what it is I'm doing. You're like making up stuff as you go.
Okay, yeah, I see that. And so, like, so I'm sure they have some sort of database. They have the laptops in their car. Can't they just like search the penal code, certain keywords that matches what he just did?
Some of them actually have their law books on them. So, like, again, it's person. Like, for the record, I don't think all police are bad at all. I think cops are generally good. And I think a lot of them have mental issues, and there's a lot of variables to why policing is the way it is. It has to do with politics, which we're not going to talk about necessarily politics, but it has to do with that, because they're just enforcing laws that's higher than them. Like, they have no say so in the matter. They're literally just following orders, and that's what you hear. And that's what you hear them say all the time. I'm just following orders. I'm just doing my job. But to me, policing is something you have to do more than just doing your job. You can get away with working at Target and just stock the shelf. You're not really hurting that many people. But when you're a police officer, I want you to know frontwards and backwards every single thing that you're doing. And if you can't know that, I'm automatically skeptical to what you're about to do, because there are bad cops too.
Right. Yeah. So I think a solution to that, I'm not sure how this would work, or if it's not already done like this, like have certain cops that specialize in certain aspects of the law. You know,
so somewhat they do to a certain degree. So like I said, like if you have a highway patrol person, he knows all the highway laws. But I think even that highway patrol officer should know more than just the highway laws. He should be knowing all the laws, because sometimes he may get into a situation where they do something while like, you know, the public does something while they're getting pulled over that he's not used to.
Oh, okay, I see.
You know what I'm saying? So like they could like be they could be doing something against another penal code that has nothing to do with the traffic stop.
Yeah, with them speeding or whatever it was.
It has
that
nothing to do with that.
For,
but he's doing something at that specific time that they could probably see. But if they don't know a statute to quote, it's kind of like, actually example that I just watched this video yesterday. Right. So this is a guy that gets pulled over for he bought a Mazda that had yellow lights in the front. His headlights were yellow. So in the state, I think he's in California. So in this state, you're able to emit light from the front and rear, either white or yellow. It says that in the statute.
Okay.
And the person that I watch is called Audit the Audit. He actually goes over the penal codes with you while he's watching the video.
Oh, okay.
So like he'll stop the
cool.
video and like put up the penal code, and then he'll say, "Well, this is what this penal code is about." So the cop came to the car and saying, "Hey, you can't altercate your headlights. You know that makes it to where you're not able to see as well in front of your car. So if you put blue lights in front of your car, that's no longer qualified to be on the streets."
Right.
But it says that it could be yellow or white.
And the guy had yellow.
And he had yellow, but in his head, that the thing that he kept focusing on was he thought it was just had to be white, like it had to be white. And
he was stuck on
white.
Is the only
it's
one.
the only thing that you could have. And he's sitting there on his phone trying to find the penal code, and he couldn't find it because there isn't one. And he's sitting there trying to say, "See, if you alter." I'm like, but he didn't alter.
Yeah.
He actually bought the car from the dealership like that. And even like I think I looked farther into it one time, and even Mazda even said that some of their cars come like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they wouldn't put something on the road that they couldn't.
Exactly.
And so that's the other thing. He thought he had in his mind, he couldn't let go of his pride so much that he could not like say, "You know what, maybe I am wrong."
Right. Yeah, he was gonna fight it to the death. Like,
yeah, tooth and nail.
Right. Yeah.
I'm right. Listen here. And he kept trying to reiterate that if you alter, and he kept saying, "I bought the car like this."
I didn't alter it at all.
And that comes to lying to the police and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Okay.
So so police officers do have to deal with a lot of people that lie all the time.
Yeah.
But not all police officers.
Right.
So they have it in their head as soon as they stop somebody, they think they're lying to them. They don't give no chance at all.
Right.
Everything that they're saying,
they just assume everything's a lie.
Everything's a lie.
Yeah. Yeah. Good
And
luck
that's
winning that
horrible.
one.
Exactly. Like how can you convince somebody that already has it in their head that you're lying?
Yeah, exactly.
And the crazy part is officers actually have legislation put in place that they can actually lie to you to get more information out of you.
What?
So
Where is that? Where's that? Is that in California?
No, it's everywhere.
Oh.
So police officers can actually lie to you if they're doing an investigation. They can use certain types of verbiage, pretty much lying to you, to gain more information about the investigation. So, a lot of my friends that are police, I have friends that are sheriffs too. So like, they told me verbatim, is like, cops are not your friends. Like they say they are, but the reason why they act friendly is to get more information out of you. It's a psychology type of tactic.
Yeah, makes sense.
And when you're trained only in that specific psychology type of tactic, you're going to use it for everything instead of the opposite side. So how many times are they doing the de-escalation compared to the other side? There's too many variables with it.
Right. Okay. So what I want to bring up, as you mentioned it before, in general though, I think we can both agree that cops are generally good people. You would say so. So to that, I want to say I don't want to say
to me,
that,
there's a way higher percentage of good cops than there are bad cops.
Right. So I don't mean to cut you off, but I don't want to say that they're good people, but I want to say that they want to do their jobs right, so they keep their job.
Yeah.
Like, would you agree?
Yeah,
would you agree with that?
So it's not necessarily that they're good people, but they are trying to do their job correctly.
So they don't get fired.
So they don't get fired.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a thin line between good and bad about that. So
yeah,
because the thing is when you have the certain amount of power, you're going to abuse it.
Yeah.
So if I told you right now, like, hey, Suelo, if I was able to write legislation where you're the only person on this planet that can steal, and for you there's no repercussions, there's nothing that's gonna go wrong. In fact, it's godly for you to do it.
Yeah.
You're gonna be like,
actually, no, I wouldn't.
No,
agree
you
with
wouldn't.
That.
But I'm just saying, there's a lot of people that would just do it because they're capable of doing it, and you have to bring that into account.
Yeah.
Now, not everybody, but that's the whole conversation we're having. Is like not every single person's bad.
Right.
But when you have bad police officers, it's you can't.
Yeah.
Because it's the type of thing where you're dealing with people's lives in this situation.
Yeah, and
that's like dealing with a bad doctor. So if a doctor is just like kill somebody because he's doing malpractice and he just goes,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's serious. A doctor does some malpractice, he can lose his license, he can go to jail and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
But if a freaking cop fabricates a story on his police report,
like I said earlier, yeah, I was going to say, like I said earlier, good luck trying to win that one, because it's like, how do you know he was lying, etc. Like it's with the cop, I feel like it's like they'll drag it out as far as they can. You know what I mean?
Some of them will, yeah.
And I think just because they don't want to make the police department or that officer look bad to the public.
Yeah.
You know what I'm just trying to save face, you know.
That's no, that's right. I mean, there's way too many variables to hit every single key point on this, because there's a lot deeper root cause of what's going on. It is training, it's the laws, it's politics, it's some police departments get paid off by politicians to vote a certain way and to do the things that they want to do. There's so many things if you just do a little bit of research about how policing works. And policing came from a bad thing. It came from slavery. Well, not necessarily from slavery. It actually came from I think it was British. We wanted to implement police departments. The first police department was in Boston, and then New York.
Oh, you're talking about for policing in the U.S.?
Yes, in the U.S. Okay. So the origins of policing in the U.S. came from the Europe, I believe. I think it was British. I'm trying to remember it verbatim, but I know it came from somewhere over there, and they wanted to implement something over here like that. So the first police department was one of Boston's. And then in the South, though, all the people that were slave catchers when the 13th Amendment was in and they started implementing police departments and sheriffs and everything like that, a lot of the people, they were slave catchers, they ended up becoming police.
That's crazy.
So there's a deep-rooted thing in this in certain places.
Yeah, in certain regions.
That's not everywhere. Of course, in California, you're not going to get that. Yeah. So I hate when I talk to a police officer about how bad some police officers are, and then they're going off of their personal view of their department. And I'm like, just because you don't go through it doesn't mean in another place they do. They don't.
Yeah.
That they do go through or whatever.
Exactly, yeah. Definitely. And that just adds to what we said earlier, that it just varies kind of like region to region, department to department. What's something that like kind of upsets me, going back to the riots from last year's, I feel like those riots were amplified by the media. I feel like the media kind of added fuel to the fire figuratively while people did it literally.
Yeah, so the media always has a part to play in every single thing that we do. Yeah. So for instance, let's say back in the day, jaywalking. Right, jaywalking came from jay driving, which was first.
What's that?
Well, jay driving means that a person that just doesn't care about any of the laws of the road. So they'll just do any type of
doing their own thing, taking reds, whatever.
The word jay comes from I can't remember exact origins, but it comes from somebody always being in the way named Jay. Like Jay is always in the way. So the auto industry ended up, there's like in 1920s, a whole bunch of people started getting run over and dying because that's when cars were actually becoming a thing. So a whole bunch of people were getting run over and everything. So they implemented, the auto industry was pushing to have everything put on the pedestrian. So they shifted their their blame to us, because we're crossing the street without crosswalk, that it's our fault that you're running us over. Right. So there's been people that
that's where jaywalking came from? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
So jay driving was first. Well, Jay was first. Jay got in the way. Jay driving, and then the auto industry pushed
some legislation, basically.
And then the automotive companies were paying these news media places to push these things on newspapers that literally have comic book strips talking about how dumb people are to jaywalk.
Yeah.
And like it was.
And at the time, that was like the primary news source. There was no TV or internet, so whatever the newspaper said, that was 100% facts, and you wouldn't question it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's how the media is today. Even with there's like some people, they swear up and down Fox News is the Holy Bible. Like everything they say comes out of their mouth is facts.
Yeah.
But they have, if you do a little bit of research of what they're talking about, you can negate almost everything some of them say.
Yeah, exactly. And
vice
that
versa.
goes for any news station.
Any news station, any person, because they're not all knowing.
Of course.
It's just so you have to challenge.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
If you're just going along with something without challenging it, I'm sorry, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I feel like that's what happened last year with the riots. That so what the media does, news stations, is they put this imagery of fires and violence and all these bad things because that catches the attention of somebody. If you see a fire, it's going to catch your attention. And they know these psychological triggers. Yeah. And they put these things in their newscasts to get viewers, to get clicks, likes.
If you notice, most news stations and most media stations on YouTube and everything else, the stuff that they push the most is always something that has to do with negativity.
Yeah, it's negative because headlines get more eyes. People will look at something negative. Action. Yeah.
People love.
Exactly. As long as they're not involved with it, like they can see it from a distance, like, oh, wow, that's crazy. That happened in Minnesota. I'm in California. I don't care. You know what I mean? But you're going to click that link. You see that crazy picture of a building on fire. I think Minneapolis is a city in Minnesota. Yeah. And I think Minnesota is a state. Yeah. So that's just the beef that I had with the media. I feel like it got escalated and made worse than what it should have been because of the media, and then the media went and turned the blame onto the cops, turned the blame onto the police. The police are the sole reason why this is happening. Like, it might not be right, but we don't have any blame in it. We can't blame the people that are doing it, blame the police. You know what I mean? I feel like that's where the problem was, that they try to shift all the blame there.
Oh, you're talking about the media stations?
Yeah.
Oh, there's
so I feel like that was the statement that they were trying to make.
It depends on what media station you're watching, because the other way around, some people were in the right or left or whatever they want to call them. Some of them were saying that George Floyd was totally wrong. He's not a person to glorify. He was he deserved pretty much to get kneeled on. There's people that made memes of themselves kneeling on their friends.
Really?
So,
okay. I seen those.
Like, people were playing around with this stuff like it was like no big deal. So it's not the media just heightens their viewpoint on what particular station it is. Right. So like, if it's the station for the cops, they're gonna be like, all Black Lives Matter, all they're doing is looting, shooting. But the thing is, I feel like I feel like there's less stations like that though. That's what I got out of it from what I was seeing. You know, I try to watch it all. I feel like there was less stations for the cops and more stations trying to blame the cops and encourage more violence. So again, I'm trying to push back on that, saying that it was both sides. From what I'm seeing, it's both sides. Right. Because when you're saying none of the cops are wrong, and even so, you're pretty much saying, even if they came out, I was out, like, put it in perspective. If I was just outside, I said F the police, and then the policeman just shot me. Like, do you think that's really justified just because I said something with the First Amendment? But some people are like, no matter what you do, if you do anything to disrespect a cop, you're wrong. Yeah, 100%. All the way wrong. So if you have that viewpoint, you're also aggravating the other side to be that way. And so it's both sides doing it. Exactly. And then I'm glad you said that, because I personally feel, again, my opinion, that it's a coordinated attack by the media. I feel like they work with each other in a weird sense, not to be too much of a conspiracy theorist, but I feel like they egg each other on, because they know it's gonna pull a cord with them, which in return their viewers are gonna respond like this, and then I feel like they just go back and forth. And I feel like it's a coordinated attack between all media. Overall, it's entertainment. Yeah, and it's about money. So overall, that's always what it's gonna be about. After you take the fluff out of everything, it's about the paycheck. How many views can I get for fabricating this story to its highest potential, and how many viewers can I get on this particular viewpoint?
Yeah, exactly.
And then that's why we have these race wars. But people, the problem is people cannot. People that have a certain viewpoint, if they're solid in that viewpoint and they're hard headed,
Yeah, and you can't change them.
I can literally bring them all facts. Like I sit there and have all these statistics, all these facts about how everything they're saying is wrong, and they won't even read it.
Right. Yeah.
They'll just be like, "Nah, what you're bringing me is bull."
Yeah.
It's like we can't even have
But
normal conversations.
ultimately, yeah, ultimately they're scared to get their viewpoint changed, and
It's
they're
pride.
like, yeah, no,
It's-
I'm comfortable with the things that I believe in, and I don't want to feel comfortable with you presenting me the opposition. So no, I'm good.
So, not to name drop, but that's actually one of the open mind viewpoints is the fact that I never claimed to know everything. I do a lot of research for certain viewpoints, and even when I do that research, I'm never going to say that I know everything about it.
Yeah, of course.
Because there's always somebody that's going to give more information from the other side or from different viewpoints, and I can learn from it.
Exactly.
And instead of getting prideful about it and saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe this person's tearing down my whole world,"
Yeah.
it's like, nah, just learn from what he's bringing you.
Yeah, exactly.
And move on.
And yes, and that goes to removing your ego out of it and be open, have the open mind to learn and be better and get familiar with the truth.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And that's what we try to push here at the brand.
Yeah, exactly. So back to the policing portion, literally if if people were like that more often, we wouldn't have we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah.
Because police officers would be able to go to every situation with an open mind every single time. They would never automatically say, "Well, I get lied to all the time." That should never be a statement that comes out of your mouth. If you're really open-minded, every single person that you come across deserves an equal chance to have that respect to say that they're not lying. And then in turn, the respect will come back to you from the public. So, but the problem is that the culture of policing is that every single it's us versus them. So that's why they have the blue line in their stuff, even though that's against the law to have that. But whatever. Whatever. I'm not going to go into that. But so having that blue line is technically saying you are it's almost like having a blue flag, like a gang member.
Oh, okay. Like we're not a part of you civilians. We're our own thing. We're above you in a sense.
We're above you, and we're with our companions. So we're with our other officers. We have this blue line to say blue lives matter. All the blue lives are we only trust each other. Everything from the public they don't know what they're talking about because they've never been police.
Right.
But it's like that has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Just because you haven't been a police officer doesn't mean you can't have a productive viewpoint to change something.
Yeah.
So if you would just listen to the person instead of wondering if they're lying, you should wonder why they have that viewpoint.
Yeah.
You should wonder why they feel the way they feel.
Yes, but sometimes yes, definitely be empathetic. But sometimes when you're in the line of duty, sometimes these cops have to make quick decisions. You know what I mean?
I get all that.
Yeah.
I get the fact that they have to pull somebody over that has a gun on them. Like I literally watched a video where a police officer got shot, where it was just a traffic stop. The dude had like some automatic rifle, pulled it out and started shooting at the cop.
Oh dang!
So I know what they go through. They go through dangerous situations all the time, but so do firefighters.
Yeah.
So they run into burning buildings. And then you have to deal with the fact like I don't have any protection. So me just walking out in public, I can get randomly shot depending on what area I'm in.
Yeah.
So that doesn't, just because you happen to be in situations doesn't mean that you should turn off your filter of being a human.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you a pass because you you know what your job entails. Just like the people that are in the military, they know what they're fighting for.
Yeah.
So they're not gonna sit there and say, "Oh my God, I can't believe this person threw a grenade at me." Like no, like,
Yeah.
they know
Yeah, it's going down.
it's going down. They know what they're in right now.
Yeah.
So police officers know what they're in, but that doesn't mean that automatically you should have a standpoint of the public lying.
Yeah.
Because actually,
Well, what I was gonna say, by law, when you go to court, you're innocent until you're proven guilty.
exactly.
But what it sounds like what you're saying is the cops don't come into these situations with that mindset. They're already
Exactly.
assuming you're lying and you're guilty.
Exactly. So, for instance, some of the audit things I watch, so where someone's taking photographs in public, they're literally exercising their First Amendment right. So the First Amendment right says their eyes cannot trespass. So when they're standing in a public place, anything they can see, they can photograph.
Okay.
So they literally go to places, photograph things in public just to see if anybody will get a rise out of them.
Right.
And oil companies, for some reason, always get a rise. So they'll call cops immediately. And I don't know what they're doing. I'm not even getting to that either. But so a cop will come, ask them, so what you doing out here? You know, I'm just taking photos. I like the scenery. I'm independent journalist gathering content for a story. That's all I'm doing. That should be the end of the conversation.
Yeah, like, all right, carry on, and then just leave, right?
Exactly. It shouldn't be fishing. Who is this person? Does he have any warrants? Does he have this? Does he have that?
Right.
Now I get the other side. That there could be a surveillance stuff and all that kind of stuff. You could be taking pictures to come back and break in and do all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But if you are out,
But by law, you're not breaking any law. You're literally just
Exactly,
taking pictures.
Exactly. So if at that moment they're not doing anything unlawful, the conversation should be over as soon as that statement comes out of that person's mouth.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be this person is probably lying. I'm gonna make sure I know who this person
And
is.
how'd that thing end?
It varies. I'm just
No, why? I thought you were bringing up a specific
no. I
one.
wasn't bringing. I was
Oh,
saying
okay,
that
okay.
I watch these audit shows
Right.
that some people will do that. So sometimes they'll go to jail. Sometimes they'll get hemmed up because the person gets so passionate about what they're doing and they're trying to protect their First Amendment right. They get agitated, and then the cop sees that as resisting. So they automatically just hem him up, throw him on the floor, do whatever.
Yeah.
And then all because he's photographing in public.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what kind of message does that send to actual real photographers that have that type of mindset where I just like to photograph things? So now I have to be wary of where I photograph. Like I can't be like, honestly, some of the stuff that they're photographing, I myself would, if I had the time, I would do that because it's interesting seeing different
cool.
buildings that you've never seen before. And now if I go to some oil company and I'm taking photos of their oil rigs, I have to hope they don't call the cops on me. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. It's not right. So yeah, with cops it depends on the person, of course, and that's with anything. It depends on the cop, how egotistical they are, how narcissistic they are.
Yep.
So I feel like cops need to have better training as far as in that. You feel like they should go to school for a long time, learn all the laws, get their bachelor's degree and all that. And
And
which
then
I would agree with that. It would just take a long time to get good police officers.
But the thing is, if other countries are already doing that, we should already be implementing. I mean, literally, I just told you that our police departments were brought from over there, and yet we're still not following suit with what their changes are, because they changed their legislation and everything since the beginning of the British police department, where now, like I think it's Germany, you have to have a 2-year degree or something like that. I can't remember exactly where. And I think Norway and all those places, there's a statistic where they have way less police killings over there. Like some of them hadn't had a police killing in over 15 years, and yet we have over 1,000 every year.
Yeah, which I would if you're comparing the statistics from one country to another, you would say, hey, the country that has the 1,000 killings a year probably needs better training. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
That's my whole point about
that.
That's my point about that. They do need more training. They also need to, every single department needs to implement a situation where they consistently go to the community and talk to every single person in the community and get to a sense of knowing who's there, and not in just one specific part of the community. Because the problem is that one person will police only this spot, and then they're like everybody in other places are exactly like these people.
Right.
So,
And just assuming that they're all like,
yeah.
which isn't right.
No,
Yeah.
and people have it's all a psychological thing, because it's like people have biases without even knowing they have bias. So if you don't really know what your bias is, that's a dangerous thing to walk on.
Yeah.
Because
And to know those biases would need some inner work, some personal work. And I'm not sure, well, it's not mandated by the police department, and most people wouldn't be willing just to go do that work on their own.
Exactly.
You know.
And I feel, here's the one thing I want to get out of the way. I feel for police officers to the T. Like, I get that they have a dangerous job, but like I said, everything about this world is dangerous. So that's not necessarily a pass, but I get that you are trying to uphold the law, and most of you do a very good job at it. I get that some of you just follow orders, and you guys are like on edge, like, I don't want to lose my job if I disobey an order from a director from my uppers.
Yeah.
But for me, I am a type of person that goes against the grain. That's why I got in trouble all the time at the prison. The prison, because I can't take you for face value. I have to do my own research before I'm just gonna do what you say. Because if you say something that sounds like it's almost illegal to me, I'm going to look it up.
Yeah, gonna do some research, and if it's the truth, oh well, I guess he was telling the truth.
And then I learned something new, and then I can actually have confidence in doing what I'm doing now. Because if you don't have confidence in what you're doing, then you shouldn't be doing it. That's just point blank period. You shouldn't 100%. Be doing it if you're not confident about whatever the statute is or penal code is. If you don't know, agree with that, if you don't really know the penal code like that, you should just let him go as a warning.
Yeah,
honestly,
exactly.
you should just chuck it up to bad luck of not knowing what
and then go back to the station or go back home, whatever, and study whatever the heck you didn't know.
Study what you didn't know, and the next time you'll get him. You got him.
Exactly.
You know, but no, you shouldn't. Like, and so many police actions would end up being. We wouldn't have these things happen all the time.
Yeah.
But, I'm all over the place, but.
Yeah, no, so we actually want to wrap it up, and we want to ask you guys what your thoughts are. Put them in the comments. Do you guys think the police are doing a good job? Do you think it needs a complete reform? Whatever's on your guys' mind, anything that has to do with policing in America, drop it in the comments. We'll respond, and we'll talk to you guys.
Yes, sir. Love y'all.
All right, so thank you guys for tuning in. Come back in next week. We'll get some more stuff for you. Peace.
Deuces.
Where we keep going, cause the party don't stop. We turn up, doing our thing, just living our lives, and we don't stop. Open my group so you know we won't flop. We on top, come to the party, you don't